Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Aura News English edition. Over the next few minutes, we'll be presenting a translated version of the Albanian news to you. And as usual, I'm Daniel Cook, your host. There seems to be no end to the torrential rainfall in Novi Sela, and unfortunately, the floodwaters are still rising. More food was distributed to the distressed and displaced villagers this morning. The armed forces are distributing food packages to the people who have been flooded out of their homes, but meanwhile the situation continues to get worse. Some of the residents have now expressed need for medicine, as in the case of one particular woman who says that her 4 kids are sick. Most of the residents have had to abandon their homes after 4 days of flooding, but some refuse to leave their apartments, where they have also sheltered their livestock. By the latest count, there are 80 homes underwater. In a telephone conversation with Aura News, the head of the Novi Sela commune has said that 60 families of the Februrary village have refused to leave. He said, "The situation is slowly improving. The Vjosa River is receding toward its bed, but there are still 3,500 hectares of land underwater. The pumps are all working at full capacity. A commission is now working on the issue of saving livestock. We have distributed food wherever possible, but we do not have the ability to provide food for the livestock at this time. The emergency staff has requested food from the government," he said. According to the forecast, the intense rainfall is expected to finally end this weekend, only to be followed by sub-zero temperatures. This is expected to improve the situation in the south of the country and to remove the risk of flooding in the north. The Vice Minister of Energy has stated that the water levels of the hydropower plants are not a concern, as temperatures are expected to decrease. While most of the media attention in the recent days has been on the south of Albania, where huge sections are still underwater, the government has had to calm the people in the north as well. They have assured the residents of the northern cities that there is currently no danger of flooding. The Vice Minister stated that thousands of residents have been without electricity throughout the entire country because of the bad weather. According to him, the floods came not only because of the heavy rainfalls, but also because of the malfunctioning of the drainage systems and the illegal constructions. Currently, the hydropower plant of Drin is producing electricity at full capacity. The good situation that has been created for the hydro plants has allowed Albanian Energy Corporation to distribute about 140,000 megawatts of electricity for use this month. The water level at the Fierza plant is 191.42 meters out of a 197-meter maximum. In Koman, the level is 170.34 meters, and in Vau Ideas, the level is 74.02 meters. After making appeals for the government to do something for 4 days now, Basha has gone himself to personally inspect the flooded areas. Mr. Basha visited the families that have been affected by the floods and took stock of the grave situation himself. He stopped at the most problematic areas in Fier and Vlora, and he reiterated his call to the government to declare a state of emergency and to come to the aid of the flooded families. According to Basha, if the government had intervened, this situation would have been avoided. Basha says that the situation is currently critical and the citizens have not received any aid from the government. He made the following statements. "The situation is very serious and the water level continues to rise. In one part of the village, the water has reached the level of 2 meters and has flooded the homes of the villagers. The residents say that no one took any interest until today. After the announcement was made that I would come here to see the situation, a fire truck arrived 10 minutes before me. The situation is very grave. The lives and property of the people should be the highest priority, and supplying them with food and water. Every measure should be taken to help their livestock survive as well," said Basha. The Democratic chairman was familiarized with the situation in the villages of Fier and Vlora. He said that this situation is drastic and that the citizens do not have drinking water or electricity. The residents of the village complained about the lack of drainage, which according to them has caused the flood. The residents say that their houses are flooded and that they have lost their livestock. They ask for help from the state, and they appeal to the government not to visit them only during the electoral campaigns. The Democratic Party distributed some food to the flooded families. As the head of the opposition was visiting the flooded areas, Prime Minister Edi Rama was commenting on Basha's visit and his recent comments on his Facebook. This is a paraphrase of what Prime Minister Edi Rama said. Bravo for the symbolic aid that the Democratic Party is providing when they are in front of the cameras. There should be disgust for this empty, anti-government propaganda. Every possible State Department is out there giving help to the people in need, and the Democrats say that we are doing nothing. A brand new agreement has been signed between the Directors of Customs and the Directors of Taxation. This agreement is supposed to be a solution to collecting more money from those who owe debts to the state. According to the Director of Customs, Elisa Spiropali, the companies that are debtors to the state will not be able to conduct any business through the customs as long as they owe money to the state. The reverse will also be true, thus restricting their activity until they pay their debts to both customs and the government. Spiropali had this to say during her speech. This agreement is intended to prevent fiscal evasion. We will make joint efforts to sift out the entities that have not paid their taxes. The taxation director, Briseda Shehu, had this to say. We have done 1 year of work in order to reach this agreement. We have audited 4,000 companies. The fight against informality and fiscal evasion is our priority for 2015. The new cooperation agreement that was signed between the two institutions will support the common fight against informality and tax evasion, the real-time access to data, and the monitoring of these companies. There has been no solution presented yet for the presence of 4 high-voltage towers in the historic area of Koman. For those of you who missed the news a few days ago, there was some concern about the placement of 4 high-voltage towers in the historic landmark of Koman, which dates back to the medieval times. The director of the transmission system has clarified through a media statement that they have not made any decision yet. He further explained that the transmission system operator is studying several alternatives, but they all will come with additional cost and additional construction time. The newest strategy for public administration was presented by Minister Harito today. The strategy will cover the next 5 years. The Minister of Public Administration, Milena Harito, presented a plan in a meeting organized with the European Commission. Minister Harito pointed out the main goals of the plan, which are depoliticizing the public administration and recruiting capable employees who will help in the opening of negotiations for Albania's membership in the EU. The minister made the following statement during her presentation. Our first goal is to increase the performance of the public administration. The implementation of the court decisions is another goal. We have a lot of court decisions that have not been implemented by a lot of institutions concerning unfair dismissals from work. 95% of these decisions were from before 2013. The EU representative, Vasilis Maragos, said that the reform in the public administration is very important for Albania's integration. He said, "We believe that Albania has made progress in implementing the law on civil servants. Albania must have a professional administration and qualified human capacities in order to continue on its path toward the EU. We will continue to offer our assistance in the development of this reform in the following number of ways. We will help in the strategic framework of the reform, in the development and coordination of policies, in the management of human resources, in offering services, and in the management of public finances," said Mr. Maragos. That concludes our news for this evening. Thank you very much for joining us. Please be with us again at the same time tomorrow for more translated news in English. Thanks and good night.